So where are you?
Yeah, I'm in MDC Brooklyn, in a little side room.
This is the first time that I'm speaking about it. Something that I'll never forget, actually.
Picture this. Two men who once ruled their respective worlds, now sharing stories, meals, and games of chess behind the cold, cinderblock walls of a Brooklyn detention center. It sounds like the setup for a dark comedy, but this is the real-life predicament of Sam Bankman-Fried, the fallen crypto king, and Diddy Combs, the music mogul turned controversial inmate. The two are bunking in the same high-security unit at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a facility infamous for its grim conditions and high-profile residents. How did these titans of their industries end up in such a bleak setting? And what could they possibly have in common? Buckle up, because this story is as bizarre as it gets.
But, no one wants to be in prison. And you can imagine what happens when you take sort of 40 people, all of whom have been at least charged with crimes, and lock them in a single room for years on end and throw out the key, which is the most trivial things become all that people have left to care about.
Sam Bankman-Fried, once hailed as the boy genius of the cryptocurrency world, is now anything but. Just a few years ago, he was a billionaire wonderkind, the founder of FTX, a cryptocurrency exchange that promised to revolutionize the financial world. But his empire came crashing down in spectacular fashion amid allegations of fraud, mismanagement, and outright deception. Prosecutors painted him as the mastermind behind one of the largest financial schemes in modern history, accusing him of siphoning billions of dollars from unsuspecting investors to prop up his hedge fund, Alameda Research. The collapse of FTX sent shockwaves through the financial world, leaving thousands of people scrambling to recover their lost investments. By November 2023, Bankman-Fried was convicted on multiple counts of fraud and money laundering, earning him a 25-year sentence in federal prison. Not exactly the Lacey he had envisioned.
I've had a lot of time to reflect on how to communicate. And in retrospect, I think I was not effective at communicating, especially when the crisis first hit. And, in the months thereafter, I made a mistake I often make. I get swept up in details and forget to communicate the bigger picture.
On the other hand, Diddy Combs was a household name long before Bankman-Fried even entered the public eye. A music producer, rapper, and entrepreneur, Combs built an empire on hit records, fashion lines, and lucrative endorsements. He was the epitome of success, a man who turned everything he touched into gold. But behind the glitz and glamour, a much darker narrative was brewing. Combs is now facing allegations that are as shocking as they are damning. Prosecutors have accused him of orchestrating a years-long pattern of exploitation involving vulnerable individuals, elaborate schemes, and a network of enablers. The charges against him range from unethical behavior to outright criminal acts, and the details emerging from the case have left the public reeling. Combs has vehemently denied the accusations, but with a trial looming in May, his future hangs in the balance.
It's just incredible. And, it brings into context our whole system of innocent until proven guilty. Why is he not being given bond? And, we could debate that all day long. Of all people that's unlikely to flee or get away, well, he's got the resources to flee, but he's so recognizable. And isn't he innocent until proven guilty? Well, yeah, but, we have to recognize there are degrees of innocent until proven guilty.
Now, let's set the stage. The Metropolitan Detention Center, or MDC Brooklyn, is no ordinary jail. It's a fortress-like building that looms over the Brooklyn waterfront, housing a mix of pretrial detainees and convicted criminals. Over the years, it's become notorious for its harsh conditions, frequent lockdowns, and staff shortages. Inmates have described it as a dark, grimy place where even basic necessities are hard to come by. And yet, it's also a gathering place for some of the most high-profile names in the criminal justice system. From R. Kelly to Ghislaine Maxwell, MDC Brooklyn has seen its fair share of infamous residents. Now it counts Bankman-Fried and Combs among its ranks.
It's a legitimate concern. No judge wants to wake up and read the headlines the next day, oh, they treated this guy special and they gave him bond, and now he's gone and he fled from justice. So that's what's in the back of most judges' minds. On the other hand, we deal with cases where clients have significant funds sometimes. And sometimes where there's money, you can craft a unique solution. Years ago, it was the ankle bracelet and the ankle monitor.
Despite their vastly different backgrounds, the two men have reportedly formed an unlikely bond. Bankman-Fried, known for his awkward demeanor and disheveled appearance, has described Combs as kind and generous during their time together in the shared unit. In a recent jailhouse interview, he told Tucker Carlson that Combs has been nothing but respectful to him and the other inmates, even offering words of encouragement during difficult moments. He's been kind to me. It's a position no one wants to be in. Obviously, he doesn't. I don't. It's kind of a soul-crushing place, Bankman-Fried said, reflecting on their shared predicament. The two men spend much of their time in the unit's common area, which is equipped with a few tables, a television, and a chessboard. And yes, chess has become a major pastime for Bankman-Fried. Known for his analytical mind, he has been honing his skills against some of the most unexpected opponents, former gang members and alleged criminals who, as it turns out, are surprisingly skilled at the game. I lose games to them all the time, he admitted. I was not expecting that. While Combs isn't much of a chess player himself, he's often seen observing the matches, offering commentary, and occasionally cracking jokes to lighten the mood.
Of course, some of them are, I think are thinking like, wow, this is sort of a big opportunity, like, to meet people they wouldn't otherwise get to meet, which is, it shocked me the first time I heard that. Right? It makes sense from their perspective, but like, boy, is that not how I think about prison.
But their conversations go beyond chess and prison small talk. Bankman-Fried and Combs have reportedly discussed everything from politics to business strategies, drawing on their shared experiences navigating high-stakes industries. Bankman-Fried has even opened up about his regrets, telling Combs about the choices that led to his downfall. Meanwhile, Combs has shared glimpses of his own struggles, reflecting on the pressures of fame and the mistakes he's made along the way. It's a surreal dynamic, to say the least. Two men who once commanded immense power and influence, now reduced to introspection and camaraderie in the most unlikely of settings.
It's just interesting to me that with all the money he has and all the resources he has, they couldn't craft some solution that lets him be under some form of house arrest. And again, it sounds like special treatment, but the truth of the matter is, to incarcerate somebody like him is expensive to all of us. We're taxpayers, and he's got to have unique situations. You can't put him in general population where, everyone wants a piece of him and everyone wants to be his friend and everyone.
And yet, their bond is not without its tensions. While Bankman-Fried has described Combs as kind, there are whispers among other inmates that the music mogul's larger-than-life persona hasn't entirely disappeared. Some say he still carries himself with the air of a man who expects deference, even in prison. Others have noted his occasional outbursts, particularly when things don't go his way. It's a far cry from the polished image he once projected, but perhaps that's to be expected in a place like MDC Brooklyn. Meanwhile, the prison itself serves as a grim reminder of the stark realities these two men now face. The facility has long been criticized for its inhumane conditions, with inmates reporting everything from overcrowding to unsanitary living spaces. Lockdowns are frequent, leaving detainees confined to their cells for hours or even days at a time. For Bankman-Fried and Combs, this means limited access to the outside world, minimal opportunities for exercise, and virtually no privacy. It's a far cry from the luxurious lifestyles they once enjoyed, and it's clear that the adjustment has been anything but easy.
Well, Sierra, anything's possible, right? But now this judge has an even harder time, I think, because the past judge locked him up, didn't let him out, and he's still there available for trial. If the new judge lets him out on bond and something goes wrong, and this isn't the analysis that I'm proud to make, right? We shouldn't be saying, well, judges are worried about their own skin and how they look if something bad happens.
Still, there are moments of levity amid the gloom. Bankman-Fried has taken to reading novels in his spare time, while Combs has reportedly started jotting down notes for what some speculate could be a memoir. The two men have also found ways to support each other, whether it's through shared meals or late-night conversations about their respective cases. For all their differences, they seem to have found common ground in their shared struggle to adapt to life behind bars. As their legal battles continue to unfold, the friendship between Bankman-Fried and Combs offers a fascinating glimpse into the human side of their stories. It's a reminder that even in the most dire circumstances, connections can be forged and lessons can be learned. But make no mistake, the road ahead is fraught with uncertainty. Both men face the prospect of years, if not decades, behind bars, and the outcomes of their cases could have far-reaching implications for their legacies.
Every jail is bad, and some jails are worse than others. And the problem, again, is if you move him, why is he getting special treatment? And maybe he's earned special treatment. Maybe what he's done, maybe he's given so much back to his fans and to the world and to charity that maybe there's a way that it plays out in the end. But again, to go into court and say this jail is bad, move him to another jail.
So, what does the future hold for Sam Bankman-Fried and Sean Diddy Combs? Will their unlikely friendship endure the trials and tribulations to come? Or will the pressures of prison life ultimately drive them apart? As the next chapter of their stories unfolds, one thing is certain: this is a tale that's far from over. The harsh realities of prison life had taken their toll on Sam Bankman-Fried and Sean Diddy Combs, but the challenges they faced were only just beginning. While their unlikely camaraderie offered fleeting moments of normalcy, the truth was that both men were embroiled in legal battles that could define the rest of their lives. And let's not sugarcoat it, this wasn't just about trying to prove their innocence. It was also about survival in a system that didn't care how big your name was on the outside. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where they were both being held, has been described by former inmates as one of the most difficult places to endure. For Sam, who had spent his adult life in the fast-paced, tech-driven world of cryptocurrency, and Diddy, a man accustomed to private jets and red carpet galas, the adjustment was brutal. But beyond the grim conditions, the real fight lay in the courtroom.
What we see are just the people that are around us on the inside, rather than who we are on the outside.
Sam's legal team had been working around the clock to prepare his appeal. Convicted of orchestrating what prosecutors call one of the biggest financial frauds in history, Sam was sentenced to 25 years and his future looked bleak. Still, he hadn't given up hope. In fact, he had spent much of his time in prison poring over legal documents, strategizing with his lawyers, and trying to find a way to salvage what was left of his reputation. He had even hinted during his interview with Tucker Carlson that he believed the collapse of FTX could have been avoided if he had been given more time to stabilize the company. The company should have been solvent, he argued. There was enough to pay everyone back, in theory, but the courtroom drama surrounding Sam wasn't just about his business failings. His political contributions had also come under scrutiny, adding another layer of complexity to his case. Once a major donor to the Democratic Party, Sam shifted his allegiances in the months leading up to his trial, allegedly giving equal amounts to Republicans behind the scenes. This revelation sparked a storm of speculation. Had his political maneuvering been an attempt to curry favor with lawmakers? And if so, why hadn't it worked? Even Tucker Carlson seemed curious, pressing him on whether he had tried to call in any favors. Sam denied it, of course, but the whole situation left people wondering whether his downfall was purely financial or if there were other forces at play.
Public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
Meanwhile, Diddy's legal troubles were no less dramatic. Accused of a range of serious offenses, the music mogul faced a mountain of allegations that painted a troubling picture of his life behind closed doors. The charges against him were staggering, and the details that had surfaced so far were enough to make even his most loyal fans question everything they thought they knew about him. But Diddy wasn't taking it lying down. His legal team had been fighting tooth and nail to secure his release on bail, arguing that the conditions at MDC Brooklyn were not suitable for someone of his status. They pointed to the facility's history of violence, overcrowding, and even maggot-infested food as evidence that Diddy deserved to await his trial from the comfort of his Miami mansion. But the judge wasn't buying it. Bail was denied, and Diddy remained behind bars, much to the dismay of his family and supporters.
I think it's to be expected, just the shock of this and the questions about what is ahead of us. How long is he going to be in custody? Is this an R. Kelly situation? Is he going to not get out for a number of years? Is he going to end up serving a long-term prison sentence from this? Or does he have a chance of beating these charges at a trial that could come?
The stakes were impossibly high for both men, but their approaches to their legal battles couldn't have been more different. Sam's strategy seemed to rely on logic and data, as if he could somehow spreadsheet his way out of prison. He had even begun working on a manifesto of sorts, detailing what he believed went wrong with FTX and how he planned to make amends. Diddy, on the other hand, was leaning heavily on his charisma and public image, attempting to frame himself as a victim of a witch hunt. His lawyers painted him as a misunderstood genius whose creative vision had been twisted into something sinister by opportunistic accusers. And while their legal teams were busy crafting these narratives, Sam and Diddy continued to navigate the day-to-day struggles of prison life. The Metropolitan Detention Center was infamous for its harsh conditions, and even the high-profile nature of its inmates offered little protection from the realities of incarceration. The facility was overcrowded, understaffed, and plagued by frequent lockdowns that left detainees confined to their cells for hours, or even days, at a time. For Sam, this meant limited access to the materials he needed to prepare for his appeal. For Diddy, it meant being cut off from the outside world, unable to manage his businesses or communicate freely with his legal team.
But there's also strategic reasons for the prosecutors to want him to have co-defendants, because right now he hasn't waived his right to a speedy trial, which would force prosecutors to take up the trial pretty quick, which they actually might not be ready to do. But if they supersede him and have co-defendants with him, it makes it a lot easier to pursue a trial continuance without him waiving his speedy trial right.
But perhaps the most striking aspect of their time at MDT Brooklyn was the way it forced them to confront their own humanity. Stripped of their wealth, status, and power, Sam and Diddy were just two more inmates trying to make it through the day. And while they might have been able to rely on their fame to garner some respect from their fellow detainees, it was clear that the prison environment didn't care about their past accomplishments. In a place where survival often depends on alliances and adaptability, both men had to learn quickly how to navigate their new reality. For Sam, this meant leaning into his intellectual strengths. His chess games with fellow inmates had become something of a daily ritual, offering him a rare sense of normalcy in an otherwise chaotic environment. And while he often lost to opponents with far less formal education, the games were a welcome distraction from the pressure of his legal battles. Diddy, meanwhile, had taken on something of a leadership role within the unit. Known for his larger-than-life personality, he had managed to earn the respect of his fellow detainees through a mix of charm and resourcefulness. Whether it was organizing impromptu music sessions or offering advice to younger inmates, Diddy had found ways to maintain a sense of purpose despite his circumstances. But despite their efforts to adapt, both men were still grappling with the psychological toll of incarceration. For Sam, the endless hours of confinement often led him to replay the events of the past few years in his mind. How had things gone so wrong? He couldn't help but dwell on the choices that had led him to this point, wondering if there had been a moment, just one decision, where he could have changed the course of his fate. Fellow inmates noticed him pacing in the limited space of the common area, muttering calculations under his breath as if solving equations could somehow provide him with answers.
So, like, have you made friends there? Are you hanging with Diddy? I think he's in there with you.
He is. And I don't know, he's been kind. I've made some friends. It's a weird environment. It's sort of a combination of a few other high-profile cases and then a lot of,
Diddy, on the other hand, was dealing with the pressures of maintaining his image even behind bars. Though his charisma and influence had earned him a certain level of respect among the other inmates, there were moments when the cracks began to show. Rumors swirled that he had clashed with another high-profile detainee over control of the television in the common area, a petty dispute that nonetheless highlighted the fragile balance of power within the prison walls. And while Diddy had always been a master at controlling the narrative on the outside, the lack of control in his current environment was clearly wearing on him. Adding to the tension was the constant presence of the media spotlight, which neither man could escape even within the confines of the detention center. Every detail of their lives in prison, from their meals to their interactions with fellow inmates, was fodder for gossip and speculation. For Sam, this meant facing relentless scrutiny over his every move, with critics eager to interpret his actions as proof of his guilt or innocence. For Diddy, it was a double-edged sword. While he relished the attention as a reminder of his status, it also meant that every misstep could be amplified 1,000-fold. The pressure was palpable, and it served as a constant reminder that even in their shared isolation, the world was still watching.
Not buying it all, Kana. And safety can mean a couple different things. Safety just doesn't mean free from harm of violence. Safety can also, too, means emotional and mental dynamics that could occur by Sean Combs reaching out to potential witness to get them to possibly change their testimony.
But the question remained, could either man truly come back from this? For Sam, the challenge was as much about rebuilding his reputation as it was about staying out of prison. His fall from grace had left a gaping hole in the cryptocurrency world, and many wondered whether he could ever regain the trust of investors. Diddy faced a different kind of reckoning. Even if he managed to clear his name, the allegations against him had already tarnished his legacy in ways that might never be fully undone. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the world watched with bated breath to see what would happen next. Would Sam's appeal succeed, allowing him to walk free and rebuild his empire? Or would he spend the next 2 decades behind bars? A cautionary tale for anyone who dared to dream too big. And what about Diddy? Could he convince a jury of his innocence? Or would the weight of the allegations prove too much to overcome?
Both sides in the Sean Diddy Combs case have until today to give answers for how the music mogul has been communicating from jail. Combs appearing in court last Friday seeking bail while he awaits trial. He's been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since September.
One thing was certain. The road ahead for both men was fraught with uncertainty. Their trials would undoubtedly be 2 of the most closely watched legal battles in recent memory, with implications that extended far beyond the walls of MDC Brooklyn. And as they prepared to face their respective destinies, Sam and Diddy could only hope that the bonds they had formed in prison would offer some measure of comfort in the face of an uncertain future. So, what do you think? Can either of these men truly find redemption, or are they destined to remain defined by their mistakes? And more importantly, what does their story say about the nature of power, success, and the price we pay for ambition? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this unfolding saga. Until next time.